Snake, okay. Obviously Duran Duran, just who you're working with at the moment. Last time I was at a gig with you was Jessie J, I think.
It was, yes.
Years ago. Who else have you been doing?
Well, I did Jessie for 3 years. Before that, Pet Shop Boys, Craig David, sort of all sorts of genres.
Just round about the pop music-y, you're always in an arena or a stadium somewhere.
Yeah, that sort of size.
Shall we dive into the desk and have a look at your session?
Yeah, let's do it.
Show me how you lay your faders out. What have you done with your faders?
Well, I've just actually, I got the desk very early on, so there were no multiple layouts, and I ended up just basically laying it out like a profile.
Okay.
On the profile, I always had my principals on the right-hand bank, so I've got my lead vocals and things that I need to spin in and out quickly, etc., etc. So that's always up.
Yeah.
And then I change banks on the left.
Okay, so what have you got in the first bank? Drums?
Drums, it's the usual thing. I do a lot of splitting of channels, so I've got my kick drum, which is split up into different versions of itself, if you like. Snare drum again as well, so I've got like a dirty snare, which has got sound zamp on it. Various different versions.
Yeah, I can see you've got several snares here.
Yeah, the snare top I've split in a lot of ways.
You just Y-split in the patch bay,
Y-split in the patch bay, soft. And then if you want it a bit more dirty, you throw up the dirty snare. You know, it's if you want it brighter, I've got a brighter sort of version. Rather than digging into
and storing it with
EQ
snapshots or whatever.
Yeah, I can just literally balance the tone of something with the fade.
And you can change that each day then, it doesn't have to be stuck with the snapshots. If you
No,
want
it doesn't have to
be particularly dirty one day or depending on the room that you're in, you can...
Yeah, you could, I mean, to me the beauty of it is that I've got a lot of versions of the same thing. Right. So actually the speed of it is when they come to do a song and they say, oh, we're going to do this song. And
you can just...
The moving the fader is so much quicker than dialing in and going, I like the snap of the snare now, but then I've lost the top end a little bit, and but I've run out of EQ, so now I've got a snappy snare with a transmod on or whatever, and off I go. I want it really snappy, I'll push the transmod. If I want it really fat and dirty, I'll push the one with the sound zamp.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. Okay, very cool. So what's going on in the middle here then? So you got, hang on, so let's just go through this. So you got drums on the top layer, then what's on the next layer?
Then it's bass, well, the second layer of drums.
Second layer of drums.
It's Duran Duran, we've got a lot of drums.
Drums.
Yes, electronic drums, triggers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And all the reverbs. What I do is I float my reverb returns onto the same layer.
Sure.
So that I've got my snare reverbs next to my snare drum rather than having it on a...
That's the advantage of the digital world, right? You can put stuff where you want it. Beautiful.
Second layer, another set of drums with the appropriate reverbs that go with them. Yeah. And the third layer, we've got guitars, bass up that end, guitars, acoustic guitar. Yeah. Do
you reamp the bass, or is it just straight off the guitar?
No, actually, again, I've got a Sans amp, and then I've got some other stuff outboard on UA stuff. Yeah. And yeah, there's the Sans amp. This bass is the distorted bass, so I can add a bit more dirt to it if I need to.
The whole big sub bass thing, that's something that's happened. Yeah. It's almost been like a fashion in sound over the last few years.
Exactly. I mean, just to
that,
divert here, save a prayer, case in point, I do EQ, or I snapshot the EQ in my left and right. Yeah. You can see here the huge cut.
Wow.
Out of the low end. Because Save a Prayer it wasn't this thing, it doesn't have this big booming, it's a very tight, musical, melodic sound.
Okay, so we got the inputs here. What we got going on in the middle of the desk here in the kind of...
so I mix mostly, I'll drop everything into VCAs and groups. Yeah. So my way of thinking, I'm an old school guy, I put things into audio subgroups. Oh, okay. So I've got my kick, snare, toms, a clean version and a smashed version of the drum kit, bass guitar and bass instruments.
So now are you then processing all of these groups as well?
Yeah, some of them do. So I've got a smashed version of the whole drum kit if I need to, and I can dirty up the whole kit.
By smashed, for those at home, what do you mean by that?
Limited, crunchy, dirty, top scythed off. View to a Kill. There's it's just a big, huge, great,
Yeah. Kind of James Bond.
massive, great wall of reverb on the drums, and so that would be the big room sound that you want to lift out.
Sure.
Whereas Planet Earth, very pudgy little, none of that. No room, it's disco.
Dry.
You know.
Why don't you pull up the lead vocal for us? Let's see what you're doing to the lead vocal.
Okay, so this is Mr. Le Bon. The channel strip's sort of fairly standard,
Yeah.
I would say.
A bit of EQ.
Bit of EQ, not too much, a little bit low cut. He's got a big voice. I mean, this guy is
Yeah.
hugely powerful. Yeah, really powerful. A bit of a cut there that I generally tend to move around. It depends on the song, you know, and depends on what register he's singing in.
Yeah.
So if he's singing in a really, really high register, then I tend to sort of cut a lot more. If he's singing sort of lower down, obviously it flattens out. So it depends on the key of the song, actually. Then I've got a bunch of plugins, some of which I can show you. So this is the ML4000. This thing does so much. It's a fantastic plugin, sounds great.
What are you doing with it on this voice? Are you using it for DSN or
well,
something?
Actually, I'm doing a little bit of multi-band compression, but I'm using it as a noise suppressor. So this replaced Waves WNS for me, this part of it.
Yeah.
So this plugin's so powerful that this bit of it does one plugin.
Okay, so explain to me how you're using it as a noise suppressor.
So what I've basically got here is an expander, 4-band expander.
Yeah.
So when he's bellowing away, maybe all of it will open, or the two mid bands will open, or the lower band will open. But if he's singing like, there's no S, there's no top end needed in that sound. So you find that the top shuts.
Oh, wow.
So it suppresses the top end.
And so that's going to stop cymbal bleed.
Cymbal bleed and all that stuff. So you do that on a 4-band basis. That's
quite a bold move, right?
Yeah, but you know what? It just gets you out of so much noise from the stage. You know, there's another one on backing vocalist, shut down completely.
Oh yeah.
So you see.
Wow. So you got nothing out of that till
until she starts singing, and if she goes then this band will open and all of these will stay shut.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah.
So it takes a bit of setting up. You can link the bands together like this.
Yeah.
So you can see the thresholds moving around in all of the bands when this master.
So the first thing is you've got your noise suppression. That's the first thing in the chain, and then the next thing.
And then I've got the classic. You know, I was one of the first people that went out and bought a dynamic EQ by BSS, which I absolutely still love.
901.
The 901. Yeah, beautiful thing.
I use that one a lot as well.
And the AE400 pretty much does a lot of what that did.
Sounds a little bit nicer.
Well, you don't have all the wires. It doesn't overheat.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing. So you've got bands of EQ that you can static EQ, and then you've got threshold as well. So and then basically, so you know, I've got at that point I've got the classic cut at sort of 800-900, the roof of the mouth,
Yeah.
And then there's the threshold. You can see the light blue, the light green here. Shows you where it'll cut to if he really digs in.
Yeah.
So that is static.
So you got a little bit for just general, and then if you really kicks
digs in with the R, it'll dig out that.
It'll dig it even more. Yeah. Cry. That's really
and
nice.
And the same for this. So you know you can set it song by song if you want.
Yeah.
And say, well, you know, when he's in the verse and he's singing fairly softly, it's like that, and then when he blasts it digs in. You'll see it doing this.
Snapshots. Just run me through your snapshots, Snake. Show me what you're doing with these snapshots.
Snapshots. Everything in inputs is pretty much in the scene.
It's all in the scene? Yeah. And are you scoping everything, or are you scoping selectively?
Yeah, I scope everything. I'll save everything because I never know when I'm going to need it.
You scope everything and you save everything?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily...
So the only thing is your snapshot safe in the pre's?
Yeah. Yeah.
And your snapshot setting, SLB's pretty much.
Yeah, he's the only thing really.
You do him every day.
The money shot kind of, and the guest. There you go, because you never know who you're going to get with a guest.
Okay. Cool. Go back to your, have a look at your main snapshot list. Let me see what that looks like. Wow, yeah, so you scope everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have to edit your snapshots, when you do have to do global snapshot edit, and you use the update or the edit, because obviously if you're scoping everything for every snapshot, you change one thing, you got to...
I'm very much, I've done this so
everything.
long
Yeah.
that I tend to use more global things to fix problems.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a real problem for me, but 90% of the time.
But if you EQ something and then that EQ is stored on all of the other snapshots, you change an EQ on something, you have to kind of...
Oh yes, absolutely. That's the rotten thing about it. But then again, you know, if I'm looking at my kick drum, you know,
show me.
So the same. You say, yeah, well, why would you worry? You know, you could just take this out of scope.
Yeah.
But actually, if you look at how it's interacting anyway, it's
gone up and down.
It's going up, and remember that these guys.
You've got 4 versions of it.
Yeah, exactly. 4 versions of it going into a group.
So you can tonally change the sound of the kick drum by relative fader positions.
So in one way, I've painted myself into a corner.
Yeah.
But in another way, I like the colour of the corner.
Awesome, Snake. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.